Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. I look a little bit different than the last time that I filmed. To be honest, the only real reason for it is I just wasn't prepared to have a beard. Like, I didn't have a set of beard trimmer or anything like that to be able to maintain it, so it got a little bit annoying, but that leads into today's sponsor. Gillette, the best demand. Okay. All right, it's not the sponsor. I just didn't know how to kind of transition this. Yes, I'm beardless. Get over it. I will probably be growing it back shortly. A lot of you did seem to enjoy it. But today, you're not here for the beard. You are here for Cresselia. And wondering whether or not you should power it up. What should you use it for? Should you use it from a raid perspective, from a PvP perspective, and then, of course, so much more. So if you do enjoy today's episode, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the beardless video. Cresselia with a max CP of 2,857. Cresselia is a pure psychic type Pokemon. When we talk about the stats, go ahead and check it out. Its stamina stat is incredible. Its defense stat is also incredible, but unfortunately its attack stat is its downfall at 152, ranked out at 294th in Pokemon Go, giving it an overall ranking of 101st. And I'll be honest with you, I think that the shiny model on Cresselia is easily one of my favorite in Pokemon Go. It looks magnificent, but when we talk about this Pokemon, a lot of people might be a little bit disappointed when they see that attack stat. And yes, I would agree with you from a raid perspective. To be honest, Cresselia is not going to be usable from a raid perspective. It does have at least some usability as far as being able to stay in the fight longer, but if we ignore that, the real value actually stands on the PvP side. The only catch is you have to do something really weird to be able to qualify it for a lower league. But before we talk about that, let's go ahead and jump into the moveset. We've got a wide range of moves when we fall into the charge moves. We've got Aurora Beam, Moon Blast, and then of course Future Sight. And then having Future Sight as a stab move is definitely beneficial considering it is the best psychic type moveset. And then even when you talk about other moves like Aurora Beam, that's actually not bad. And then Moon Blast isn't necessarily a good move, but it is at least unique in the fact that it is a fairy type move, which does provide super effective damage to a couple more types outside of the psychic typing. So I mentioned earlier that raiding is a no-go, but on the PvP side, I have to say that this is one of the few Pokemon that I have seen actually place in the top 24 in all 3 leagues. You cannot go wrong with it. Go ahead and check this out. We're going to go ahead and flash all of them on the screen. We've got the Great League up first. As far as the Great League is concerned, coming in at that number 12 spot, and then when we move up to the Ultra League, this is where it really shines, in at that number 2 position. And then finally, if we head up to the Masters League, you are going to see it in at that number 21 spot. So yes, it does slip back a little bit from that. So you might be asking yourself the question, well, do you need to focus on it from the Great League perspective, from the Ultra League? Well, as far as the results are concerned, it does do better in the Ultra League, but for any of you out there who have competed in any tournaments related to the Sylph Road, you know that the main focus has been on the Great League. And if you go ahead and pull up a chart that LeakDuck has created, and of course you talk about the different CP ranges available, you're seeing that 1500 CP is out of the range of what you can get from a Pokemon, a Cresselia, from the actual raid system. So then you're scratching your head like, well, what the heck do I need to do then to get it down to the Great League? And this is where I love situations like this. You have to do some kind of weird stuff to be able to get a Cresselia, to of course have it in the Great League just to begin with, and I want to go ahead and provide some guidance for it. In this case, you absolutely want to avoid trading with best friends. It is slightly possible for you to get it via the IVs, but for the most part, it is very unlikely for you to get it. However, I do think a good compromise is actually add an Ultra Friend. It's not necessarily going to cost you that much, but as far as the IV floors being lowered a little bit, it's going to allow you more opportunity to get yourself a Cresselia at 1500 CP or lower, and to be honest, it's not going to cost that much, especially if you are trading with someone who at least has a shiny Cresselia, and then of course you want to trade for that. But to be honest, I'm more or less on the cheaper side of it, wanting to just get any Cresselia in at that 1500 CP or lower. So yes, you are going to have to kind of do some weird stuff, but like I said, I think the Ultra Friend is a good compromise, but of course the lower you go in the friendship, the more likely you are to get a Cresselia at a very low IV. For the most part, people have heard that low IV Pokemon are not desirable, but in this case, it's simply to qualify for the Great League, so you definitely want some lower IVs. So what should we do with this Pokemon if you are considering powering it up from the raid perspective? I honestly think you should use Stardust in another Pokemon besides Cresselia. And this bar is just like an overall investment. If you think about it this way, the point is that you're not going to have to power it up at all, so all of your Stardust is saved from that regard. So instead, if you do want to use it from a PvP perspective, I would actually recommend using your Stardust from that regard only, and then of course unlocking the idle moveset from a PvP standpoint, where you are talking about Moonblast, you are talking about Future Sight, and yes, it is a legendary Pokemon. It will cost 100 candies. It will also cost 100,000 Stardust, but at the end of the day, if that is all you are investing in, it is definitely going to be worth it from the PvP perspective, for the simple fact that it is good in the Great League, it is good in the Ultra League, and then it's even good in the Masters League, but that is of course going to be up to you. There's a little bit of a caveat that we probably need to address before we close out this episode, and that is the simple fact that there has been a tournament where Cresselia was disabled from being entered into it. Now that more or less falls along with the typing. I don't think that Cresselia would ever be permanently banned from any type of Sylph Road tournament, so definitely keep that in mind, but that could show how powerful of a Pokemon it is, and something I personally think that people can get excited about as long as you're interested in the PvP perspective. So yeah, that just about wraps up the video. I'm definitely excited about getting myself a shiny Cresselia, and I will be, of course, trading with a couple of people in my community, especially at that ultra friend level, trying to get myself a sub 1500 CP Cresselia so I can, of course, add it to my Great League team. But I definitely want to know what you think about it in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate this support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.